Incoming message.
I have spent months digging into satellite glitches, strange data packets, and unexplained telemetry. But what I've uncovered for today's explainer, well, it goes somewhere mainstream channels absolutely refuse to touch. For all you skeptical tech investigators and data analysts tuning in, we are looking at a set of impossible signals that completely defy our understanding of linear time. We aren't just talking about weird static here. We're looking at hard data suggesting we are receiving desperate messages sent backwards from the future. Let's lay out this case file strictly chronologically. Because when you actually plot these out, from the famous 1977 Rilion hijacking to the 2003 Deep Space WOW anomaly, right up to a massive event in 2026, you realize this isn't just a one-off glitch. It is an escalating, undeniable pattern. Back in '77, a mysterious voice hijacked British TV with a bizarre warning. Jump to 2003, and a massive anomaly completely baffled astronomers. And then, the massive 2026 data event. When you connect these dots, you stop seeing random anomalies, and you start seeing repeating warnings.
Let's dive right into Section 1, the 2026 incident, a map of the future.
So, on April 8, 2026, a massive anomaly simultaneously hijacked multiple global television feeds for exactly 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Now, there was zero logged satellite malfunction, no broadcaster claimed responsibility, and absolutely no hardware failure could account for a simultaneous multi-network override of that scale. But the visual imagery transmitted, it wasn't just standard static. Viewers independently described seeing a highly detailed, frankly terrifying map of a coastline that simply does not exist on our current global topography. I want you to challenge yourselves to process this impossible geography. We're talking about continental outlines that look drastically altered, suggesting a world where sea levels or tectonic plates have catastrophically shifted.
And the audio? When I first managed to isolate the audio log, it was literally chilling to listen to. Tucked inside that broadcast data was an unidentifiable voice, just calmly reciting, repeating numbers. It creates this incredibly eerie, urgent atmosphere. Listen, it doesn't sound like a prank. It sounds highly procedural. It sounds exactly like a distress beacon or military coordinates being broadcast into the blind, just hoping someone, somewhere, is listening to the sequence. Which brings us to Section 2, investigating the origins, bleed over, or breakthrough. Naturally, if you're a disciplined investigator, you should be deeply skeptical right now. I get it. The authorities will feed you this standard, safe explanation. They'll say this is just a rogue transmitter bleed over. You know, someone built a powerful pirate antenna and the signal just bled into standard carrier waves. And sure, it's a comfortable explanation, assuming you completely ignore the satellite logs. The rogue transmitter theory totally fails to explain the multi-network synchronization. So we have to look at the emerging, much darker hypothesis, retrocausal transmission. The idea that these ghost broadcasts are actually echoes of future transmissions bleeding backwards into our present. To understand how that could even be physically possible, we've got to look at the underlying physics. The crucial concept here is quantum retrocausality. Now, before you roll your eyes, this isn't science fiction. It's a fringe but very real concept in quantum physics where effects can actually precede their causes. Seriously. In 2019, physicists at the University of Queensland experimentally demonstrated a scenario where a photon's past behavior was altered by a future measurement. It literally proves that time isn't necessarily a one-way street. It behaves more like a river, with eddies where information can occasionally swirl backwards.
Now we hit Section 3, the DARPA leak, Project Chronophone. This is where things get really crazy.
This brings us to the leaked documents that completely blew my investigation wide open. To understand them, we have to look at a specific mechanism mentioned in the classified files: quantum tunneling. This is a phenomenon where particles penetrate a potential energy barrier that they normally shouldn't be able to cross. The leaked documents suggest that if you apply this principle to modulated electromagnetic signals, you can theoretically allow data to bypass temporal causality entirely. Let me put that in plain English for you. The military was actively looking at how to tunnel a radio wave backward through time.
Let's methodically run through the damning details from this DARPA leak. Project Chronophone was a highly classified initiative that was allegedly canceled in 2021. Or, well, at least that's what the public was told. The files explicitly state the project explored modulating EM signals utilizing that quantum tunneling for backward information transfer. But here is the absolute most terrifying revelation of the whole shebang. The specific frequencies DARPA was testing, They identically match the frequencies of the rogue broadcasts we've been tracking. No way that's an accident.
Let's map this out in Section 4, cross-referencing the logs, the carrier frequency pattern.
I urge all you analytical viewers out there to look directly at this hard data. When we cross-reference the logs of these historical anomalies with the chronophone data, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Look at the data points here. The 1977 Vrillin transmission, the 2003 WOW anomaly, and the 2026 broadcast. Every single one of them shares the exact same carrier frequency, the exact one mapped in the DARPA leak. All three contain repeating numerical sequences, and all three occurred during a solar minimum. When you have three separate incidents separated by decades, sharing the exact same frequency, the same audio profile, and the exact same celestial conditions, come on, that is not a coincidence. That is a deliberate, engineered pattern.
Moving into our final segment, Section 5, Desperate Origins. Why break causality?
This puts a really dark cloud over the entire investigation. Because if someone in the future has managed to finalize the chronophone technology and is successfully sending messages back, we really have to ask why. Think about the sheer amount of energy, the massive technological risk, and the unpredictable paradoxes involved in sending a signal backward through time. What on earth is so absolutely crucial that they would risk ripping a hole in causality itself? I want to challenge you to look back at that strange coastline map from the 2026 broadcast. Don't just view it as a random graphical anomaly. Interpret it as a dire, literal warning. It is a desperate distress call from a looming global catastrophe, sent by survivors who literally have no other options left.
So here is the huge takeaway from today's explainer. What if someone in the year 2047 is desperately trying to warn us, and this hijacked broadcast was their one and only shot? The terrifying implication here is that we are receiving literal distress calls from our own doomed future. And right now, the mainstream is just writing it all off as a rogue signal anomaly. So I have to ask, are we ignoring warnings from the year 2047? Take a good hard look at the data. Think about that changed coastline and let me know your theories. Because if the chronophone is real, the clock is ticking a whole lot faster than we realize.
Come to me, chickens! Cock-a-doodle-doo!